Hey guys, just wanted to let you know before we get into this video that I am actually giving away one of these Mandos. If you want to enter that, just make sure you head over to my April giveaway video. There is still time to enter until the end of the month, and I guess if you win, you can thank Miguel for packing your order. Anyway, let's take a look at him. Obviously today I have for you the printed Mandalorian from AVFigures, and okay, so I just bought this light up minifigure display from a place called Brick's Genius. And it's not that good. I'll do a full video on it at some point where I show it off without all the extra lighting messing it up, so sorry for the weird lighting in this opening shot here. But yeah, this is the Din Djarin printed figure from AVFigures, and it is surprisingly still available. You can actually just go and buy one yourself still, which I thought this was certainly going to sell out the day it came out, but I guess it didn't. I think overall, this is a pretty decent figure that I think any fan of AV or The Mandalorian is going to enjoy, but there are some downsides to it. We'll get to those in just 1 second. When you buy Din, it does come with this dark saber provided by Brick Arms. I think this is a wonderful addition, and it looks nice, and LEGO definitely should have gone this route instead of the one that they went. However, looking at the figure itself, this is probably one of my favorite that I've ever had. The designers here took so much care to make sure they got this figure correct. There's not just some one base color in the back or anything, and they didn't get a color that was close enough. Later on in the video, I do show a side-by-side with Clone Army Customs version, and this one is just no comparison. The difference in color between the actual armor and the underside, like his clothes itself, actually flows pretty smoothly, and it looks great. There is depth to the armor, and you can tell the different parts of it. Even down on the legs, the way that AV was able to do this looks fantastic in my opinion. Having the one on the right be slightly off-center just makes it feel much more real to me. Now, admittedly, I did have to go back and look on the website to see if it was supposed to be that way, but I do like the choice there, and I think overall it works great. And of course, this is 360 degree printed, which if you've ever seen any of my videos, you know is how I personally like my minifigures to be. It just adds more detail, and it looks so much nicer. And with that, I need to point out just how perfectly lined up this really is. There's not really a difference between the front and the sides at all. Everything flows smoothly, and it just looks so nice. They do have wraparound arms on this minifigure as well. I moved the cloth aside so you can see it, and there's a lot of detail down there, even though this side gets covered up by the cape. A great example of this is actually on the other arm of the minifigure, where you can kind of see it in this shot, so please excuse the handheld shot here, where you can just see the crisscrossing pattern put into the elbow of the Mandalorian. This is a detail that if it wasn't included, I don't think a single person would have cared. This is just extra detail and extra work to really complete this, and it shows how much care went into making this. But then comes the question of the helmet, and unfortunately, this is where things get a little lackluster for me. Don't get me wrong, I think this particular helmet is probably the best version of a Mandalorian helmet out there. It just looks so fantastic. I used to think Clone Army Customs version looked amazing, but when I put these two together, like I said, there is no comparison. AV's is so much better, and this does really look nice. It does have a little bit of a shine to it. There's depth between the visor and the rest of it. However, and I know this is a little hard to see, it is a little scratched up in places, unfortunately. And I don't think that's supposed to be intentional. This is Beskar, after all, it's supposed to be near invulnerable. I don't know if this helmet was hand painted or decaled or what. I have to assume decaled because it is AVFigures after all, but there is a little bit of chippiness to this, and like I said, some scratches and roughness that really shouldn't be there and does bring the figure down, unfortunately. And to add to that, the helmet itself has trouble staying onto the figure and quite easily falls off. Now, I know we're not all going out there throwing our figures upside down or anything, and if you push it on, it will stay, but it's still very loose, and moving it at all is going to make it fall off the second you turn it sideways or upside down. I know this is something that just happens with AVFigures molds, but it kinda sucks to pay $45 for something that still has that issue. if you're gonna charge that much, you've gotta fix these problems. So while this is an absolutely fantastic minifigure, that price point is incredibly hard to justify when it still has these issues. If those were resolved, I would have no problem paying for that, because this is just incredibly detailed and looks great. And like I said, here it is next to the Clone Army Customs one, and just wow, there really is no comparison here. The one from AV is so much more accurate. The armor is more accurately sized, it's more accurately colored, it just looks nicer. And even with the problems it has, that helmet is so much better than the one from Clone Army Customs. And that's not even to talk about how the jetpack from AV is so much more accurately colored and looks nicer either. I kind of forgot to mention that earlier. So if you want this minifigure, it is still available, it is still there, you can still buy it at the time of making this video. Just know that you might have some issues with the helmet, however, everything else is totally going to be worth it. Next week, oh man, I don't really have a good clue for this. I guess if Omega had a bunch of sisters, they would be these. It's a very specific division, but we'll see if anyone even knows what I mean. Just remember it's still from AV. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Remember to like and subscribe to appease that algorithm, and if you want to support me further, you can always check me out on Instagram, Discord, and of course on Patreon, where you can join all these wonderful people, get shoutouts like Jonathan, and extra entries into that giveaway. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.